I want this shit like Osama. I speak the truth like the Bible. Black and rich like Obama. Little dick lick and go viral. I do this shit with my eyes closed. She blew my dick with her eyes closed. She gave me brains and my mind blown. I'm in a whole different time zone. Nigga in the no-fly zone. And the money tall like an Amazon. Send a box like I'm Amazon. Running laps on the truck of time. Gun big, call it Megatron. Gun big, call it Megatron. All the hoes my hoe, all the young niggas ride around town with a pole, all the young TTG niggas really go. And they all fresh out, everybody young bro. It's the same old story everywhere niggas go. If you wanna get high, then we got full low. Where I come from, it ain't no hope. Everybody on dope, everybody sell dope. All the hoes my hoe, all the young niggas ride around town with a pole, and they all TTG niggas really go. And they all fresh out, everybody young bro. It's the same old story everywhere niggas go. If you wanna get high, then we got full low. Hey, designing my building, my bitch bag. I'm talking so much shit, I need shit back. You can find shit that I barely had. Gullah, gullah, geeks, geeks, gullah, gullah, geeks, geeks, gullah, gullah, geeks, geeks, gullah, gullah, geeks, geeks. Call me, you can't reach me. No, teachers couldn't teach me. No, preachers couldn't preach me. Neither. Why I think I'm Jesus? Oh, I'm gullah, geeks.
Peace, fam.
Up, bro?
Let's get to it, bro. You said you had some questions.
Yeah, I did, bro. So, okay. My first question starts on page 2. I say,
Talk
how
about
can my narrative?
uh the new one, right?
Yeah,
Like Indian War. So tap in, y'all. We got the digital download, $13. The physical got on the website, or you can just hit me direct. You know what I'm saying? Yes, sir.
for sure. I
What's
say,
what we talking about?
how can my narrative start in Manhattan when I hail from Texas and my family originates in the South, specifically Louisiana?
Okay, so your family narrative is your family narrative. And we're not gonna ever confuse the two. The tribe, peace and love, Yellow Soul. The tribes, we delving into this one right now. The Black Indian Wars. Tap in for yours. So the tribes in Texas are not the same tribes that you would find in Manhattan, right?
Right.
And to be honest with you, even with the interconnection and traveling back and forth, that's not the point that's being made. The point that's being made at this page is we're just starting. So I know I was taught by my family that we're black, right?
That's right.
And when you ask what that means, it means, oh, Africa, slavery, right? So this is an umbrella term. So we're talking about nationality. So what I mean is, as an American, as a person born in North America who speaks English a certain way, who has cousins and uncles in, say, New York, uh, Texas, Florida, all these places that seem to be within these 48 states. Not
Right.
Hawaii, not Puerto Rico, so it's not just only American territories, right? Our families seem to be within this block
Right.
space, and they all speak English, right?
That's right.
Regardless of whether we say Africa, ancient Egyptian, Indian, right?
Right.
So we're trying to use a geographical, right?
Right.
So we open it up with geography. The story of the black family. Where does the black family begin? I know I was taught at school and even by my parents, Africa.
Right.
But were you after that? Were you taught like a specific part of Africa, a
No.
specific kingdom, a specific slavery?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay. I know. I would say no at a young age, but as the day David Flores was good with it, bro. As the time progressed, uh, I was told West Africa, right? But I was
Yep.
never told uh the Kingdom of Benin have the last name, and I was never given nothing that had to do with me.
Bro, you know
You know what
what
I'm saying?
though? You know
Peace.
what I say? I would say like you said, no, but then I was told they were sub-Saharan African.
Okay. You told that by your parents or by the people at school?
People at school, just when I'm hearing this shit growing up.
Okay. But your family, your parents said they're from Texas.
Yep.
Okay. Peace to Heavy Mile. He said, my family left foot, right foot Indian.
Facts.
So the point is, when you say black, they try to throw you off because they make it a color thing.
Mm.
So a nigga walk in the room and be like, that don't matter what you just said. they were black in India. That doesn't matter. They were black in Africa. That doesn't matter. They were Australians. But we're not talking about them.
Yeah.
We're talking about a specific group of people, a specific place, so we can understand who and what we are. So sub-Saharan is a made-up
Okay.
term. Okay, but it just means below the Sahara Desert,
Okay.
right?
Right.
And your family's from Texas.
Right.
Okay. My family is from, on my mother's side, it's all jibbled up, right?
That's right.
I know my mother's mother. I don't know my mother's father. Now, my father's side, though, they're from Louisiana.
Right.
We can trace our name back. That's the whole Gullah Geechee joint. So the point is, I didn't say Africa. I'm not saying, oh, there's no connection. I'm saying, let's deal with actual facts before we hop around. What I've learned with our people is we have a tendency to, even when you start talking about solution, they'll jump somewhere and be like, well, the white man will blow this whole thing. They're always kind of like skipping from A to Z in order to avoid the process, right? So the process with self, let's begin with the most logical thing. Self as in a nationality, in a nation of people, we're talking about North America within the 48 continental states of the U.S. That means all of the U.S., not including Alaska and Hawaii or Puerto Rico or any of the other extended. It's the 48 with blocked in
Sure.
from California and Washington and Oregon east to New England down to Florida. You got it?
Yes.
Boom, four corners. All right. That's what's meant by black. There's no one else that's black, believe it or not. There's other people who are described as black. There's a Negro Puerto Rican. There's an Afro Latino. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But just black, what we see on TV. You get what I'm saying? Now, and I'm not gonna say there's not no other part of the world that describes itself as black,
Yeah.
right? But what I'm saying is within that intercontinental area, right?
Mhm.
I don't believe they call themselves black. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So peace.
There he is. What's going on, guys? Hold on, let me set
Peace,
this
brother.
up.
So in order to understand something, I put it in context. I said the story of the black family in America. So I didn't disinclude any other blacks because that's not what I'm here to drive here. Like no black, because you see, it's called the Black Indian Wars,
Yeah.
right? So I'm talking about in America, right? I
Right.
said did not begin in Africa. Begin something that begins ends,
Yeah.
right? So I'm not saying black has no connection. I'm not here. You know what I mean? You have, because to me those are like the never ending arguments. And I feel like people use that to never land to get to the point. So
Right.
we're talking about niggas in America. You know what I'm saying? That's why I said the story of the. And you see, I put quotation mark.
Yeah.
I put black, and I put it in all capitals. So I put black. Family in America did not begin in Africa, right? It began in Manhattan when the Dutch pirate Peter Minuit paid 60 guilders to the Shinnecock Indians for permission to settle on the part of the island named New Amsterdam amongst the Lenape. Now go a page back, because remember they say a picture speak 1,000 words, right?
Right.
So what's the
Hmm.
picture there? So what did that say anything to you? Like,
Uh.
I know it's more
Who
words
that
on the
old
page.
who that old dirty
Yeah.
bastard?
Uh,
Oh, it is, right?
yeah.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
that was one of my questions. But it's kind of self obvious though. That this when I see this and what you put in the book, I think what you talking about. You say these a phenotype of the Shinnecock.
Well, see, even the language you're saying, phenotype and all this racial stuff, right? That's
Right.
a Shinnecock. Now you want to say his phenotype and all that? That's you gonna do that. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Okay. I think
Because
it's
like yeah,
continue.
I think we try to we have this we made this template of what history looks
Yeah,
like. Now that could be based on what we've read in books, it could be based on our own beliefs or whatever, but we have this template,
Right.
right? And we sometimes don't think of these other things outside of the
yeah,
box. Like, hey, people just may have known each
yeah.
other. Hey, people just did trade.
Exactly.
Hey, people sailed around the world before they had big mega ships made of iron,
Hmm.
casted iron. You get what I'm saying? They were still sailing around the world. Like, well, if we could just fathom that, if we could just look back at mankind and see them
as mankind
Right.
and see that they were actually doing shit the same way that we were doing shit.
Mhm.
You know, we see it a little bit different. Like there is no, like he said, phenotype. Well, go to any nation of people. Is there just
No,
one phenotype?
No.
no,
Damn, that's true, bro.
no.
Like
You're
any
right.
nation of
Remember we was
people,
just talking
like
about that, bro?
on
He
the
was like, I
planet,
thought they was this. I said, why you keep thinking they are
like
one thing? Like,
if
That's true,
you
bro. You're
had
right.
a if you had a if you had a daughter and this other chief of another tribe somewhere may have had a a son, and you guys may have arranged for them to come together, and they live some she now lives in their kingdom over
yeah.
here, way over here, and now she's considered one of them. She's them. You get what I'm
Oh,
saying?
oh,
So
Yeah.
now she
True.
so you got to
let me
think we got
chime
to
in,
think
Hezzy,
like
to add on.
mhm.
And let me ask this to you so you don't use the train of thought. Like you were saying, people even trade in bloodline. It before this Eurocentric way, and I'm gonna say Eurocentric, but before this newer way of seeing a rulership based on conquering through violence, it was expanded through
Right.
marriage, right?
True.
Right. Well,
So
that was
what you're
and that
talking
was one
about
of the
was actually
strategies. And it was a strategy.
Mhm.
Like I tell people, when you look in nature, when you look out in nature, you'll see that different animals use different things for survival. Some animals are aggressive for survival,
Mhm.
like they use their strength for. Some animals are very cunning and sneaky, and some are whatever. Mankind, knowing that there's this chaotic nature and warlike way of man's in his strategy came up with a thing. Well, what if I gave you something that belonged to me that was dear, and you gave me something of yours that was dear?
Mm.
We're gonna trade it. That way, we'll know that we won't cross each other,
For sure.
right?
Hmm.
And that thing became your children.
Yeah.
You see, it became your children. I'm gonna give you. You could my daughter, my son. She'll come live over in your kingdom, or whatever. He'll come be in your kingdom. Now I'm not gonna war against your kingdom because I have family
Right.
there. My nieces and nephews are over there. Like Lot, like what happened in the Bible with Lot in Sodom and Gomorrah. Abraham pleaded for Lot's life. He played with God. He said, "Well, God, well, what if there's just one in the city that's righteous?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, what if there's 20? So just to save Lot's life, So we're going to be protective of the
For
family.
sure.
So in that case, man did that for survival, and we saw that it kept a certain level of harmony. Solomon did that.
Right.
He married 700 women, not because he was just a freaky nigga. You know,
Yeah.
that was to keep the peace amongst the nations and the tribes around.
Yeah.
This was a wise man. This is why this is
So
done. You're not gonna war with me. I
basically,
got your daughter.
break out of the
Yeah.
box, break out of the box of phenotype.
Okay.
Now, how many questions you got
Hmm.
all together? How many you
Uh,
had all together?
shit, bro. You know how I do, bro. I got a lot of questions, but I could probably skip over
All
some.
right, go ahead. Just keep,
Uh,
keep going. All
yeah.
right.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So my next question is, would Dutch Europeans who are negotiating with the Native Americans before and during colonial period be classified as Moors, given their ancestry linked to crypto Jews and Muslims?
No negotiation.
Uh,
No. No negotiation.
the the the, the word classified
It's
is
it's
tricky.
it's almost like we're
Yeah,
sitting at the business
yeah,
table, and we're and we're negotiating a deal,
yeah,
right? This is not what took place. There was
yeah.
no negotiation. There was surveying of the land,
That's right.
trying to, and also a surveying of the people,
Yeah.
trying to understand the people. What's their demeanor like? What are they like? What do they deem as? How do they see their God? How do they see things and all? So it was really a surveying. It's a spy. It was spy. It was
Right.
intel. It was all for intel in order to figure out how we're gonna eventually do what it is we're gonna do or whatever strategy we're gonna use. It was never negotiations.
Yeah.
You don't get negotiations until you get into treaties.
But his question is,
treat, treat
but no, look,
and even
but look,
those are
no,
still like,
but his question is a tough one. But we're gonna answer it. He's saying negotiations or not, was them Dutch people
right.
classified as Moors?
Uh,
I'll say yeah.
uh,
I'll say yeah. Now, here's the thing though. I would say no too because you probably mean more like. See, this is where it gets into the Afrocentric stuff. You gotta be careful. You probably mean more like the real Moors and the Europeans. I don't them Dutch dudes that never call themselves they don't like Moors. Them Dutch dudes, so they wouldn't call themselves that. Now, do they have a bloodline that connect to some Spanish Moors that moved up and mixed with them? Maybe, but as far as the culture and all that, like the stuff we're reading about and the stuff we're talking about, people classified as Moors, like the Black Moors or the people sold off or the people in 1492 that were conquered, uh, even if they have a connection, classified as, I never seen the Dutches that were given 60 guilders to the Shinnecox classified as Moors.
For sure.
Right. And that's why I say, and everything, if I'm a Moor, I'm like, don't put me with all
Yeah,
this shit.
exactly. Like,
Because
yeah, I'm
like,
not one of them. Don't put
like, yeah.
me.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah,
Nigga
don't
trying to be
put
Oh,
me.
everything.
Don't put me in the mix with some of this stuff. Yeah,
You see a
because
ninja, he
yeah,
like, the first
yeah,
ninja was a Moor, so that
yeah,
means that ninja's a
you're
Moor.
right.
That
It's
bitch
like yeah,
said,
don't
man, hold
put me with
on, man.
everything because yeah, because
okay.
it's knowing that and knowing the way. Well, okay, if they were Moors, there's a way that Moors did things,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
There's a way Moors did things. Moors would have first understood what your religion was and offered their religion to you. It wasn't
Facts.
like they had, and if there was some type of jihad, it would have been known. There would have been a decree of it
Right.
Yo,
from a
exactly.
higher place. So this is one thing we know that there weren't Moors. They didn't wage war, a religious war against these people,
Right.
right? There, they didn't. None of these people were doing things that were even contrary to what you would deem as Islam
Yeah.
Right.
because they believed in Great Spirit. You know,
I think it's more of
they
a
believed in a certain order of things. So they practice, many of these tribes already practice Islam.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Unknowingly, so that would have, Muslims would have saw that at least with some of these tribes. Like, wait a minute, so, and it wouldn't have been so much colorism involved in it if it was
For sure.
Moors.
exactly.
You see?
No,
So,
exactly. And
it,
that's the point. And see, you got to go back to it's a perfect question after the first one because if you go back to what he said, the first thing he expounded on about why there can't be trade of people. So even the Dutch that were pulling up, that's not what you're imagining. It wasn't 60 crispy white dudes with blonde hair and blue eyes. It's
For
just
sure.
that's the
right.
movie version. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mhm.
What's the next
That's a
question?
fact.
Okay. Okay. I say my next question is, could this be the reason why the indigenous Americans permitted the Protestant Dutch Europeans to establish settlements here?
Could what be the reason?
Uh, okay, right. Oh, damn. Okay. Well, that question would make sense since y'all saying that now. But if there are original people that were going against the Catholics or that were opposed to the
Well,
Catholics.
let's go back to the book. Let's not just go all over the place. So
Okay.
the Shinnecox are not all extinct or living on a reservation in Long Island. Many were classified as Negro and African after the Civil War. An example is the late rapper Old Dirty Bastard of the Wu-Tang Clan. So let's look at their actions instead of just talking about classifications. What did they do? Like the brother said, they surveyed,
Right.
they played alone, they played the long game. So we know what their intentions was. We get so caught up in trying to figure out was they brown skin or not. Nigga,
Yeah.
they was the enemy, whatever they was.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
it
like
says
yeah, all
during the
that.
Dutch
Yeah.
occupation, these quote unquote black families were free. They became part of the province of New York in 1667. In 1711, the city opened an official slave market on the famous Wall Street. It is no coincidence. So like he said, they surveyed. They didn't just come right in and make. It's not how the movie like or how they just walked in, slapped your mama. Now it's Wall Street. No, we
Mm-hmm.
talk about 1711. They had already been present there for a minute.
So you got
So,
to think.
mhm,
Imagine if you're a
mhm.
native, right? This is you. Y'all are part of the same tribe. Y'all do the same thing every day. Every day, y'all, and every season, y'all do the same thing. And one day, you come to the river that you normally frequent, and you see this ship with these men on it.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
They don't look like you. They don't. You can smell them from way over there before you even get to them.
Yeah,
You
they
can
don't
smell them.
even eat like. Come
You know.
on, man. They coming from
You
Europe
know,
in the Dark Ages.
you do
Yeah.
it, the stitch. Okay, and you're like, wow, okay, I don't know. Okay, you come, you go get some water or some on a, but you keep watching them, right? You go tell your people, man, look, we see some weird. weird people right over there. You know what I'm saying? You come back the next day, you know, you just see them out of the boat now. They on the shores now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they setting up little tents and little shits out on the thing. You ask them, you go try to meet them, and you know, what's up? You
Mm-hmm.
know, hey, what's up? How y'all doing? You know, what's on some real nigga shit? Like, what's up? You know what I'm saying? Hey,
Yep.
where y'all from? You know what I'm saying? You know, y'all bang? You know what I'm saying? You
Come
know what I'm
on.
saying? Like you just asking them simple questions. You know, oh y'all need okay, y'all. Oh, okay, let me help you. You know, you give them a little help. You tell them about the land. You tell them about the land. Oh shit, man, you know this. You know, boom, boom,
Mm-hmm.
boom. This Atzla, you know, we do it like this over here. You know, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's got to go. If you go down that way, you know what I'm saying? This over there, you know, maybe you go over here. You know, we got some over there. Man, you check
Yeah.
it out, man. You might like it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So we looking at it like that. Y'all see, y'all not thinking of it like that, but that's what it was. That's how we saw it. Like, yeah, you know, like, go check it out, man. We not looking at well, you. Hey, man, you done stepped into our kingdom, man. Like, what's up? It's like, okay, now let me ask you this: if you go to Memphis right now,
Yeah.
is niggas gonna be like, hey, man, you can't step foot in
No.
Memphis?
Right.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? No, nigga, you just stay like, hey man, hey, the barbecue shop over there.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? You know, hey, the mall down the street over there, the this over down there over there. You know, and this is it's like this. You get what I'm
Right.
saying? And these people slowly begin to, you know, set up in little strategic places, and they begin to work and begin to see things. This is not a quick. This wasn't happening the way people think it was in a lot of cases. So a lot of things it was very stealthy. A lot of times it was just very methodical. It
And
was
see,
it was it was, it was you
yeah,
know.
I'm glad you said that. So this one page, if you look, you gotta look at the numbers. Because like he said, this is talking about it starts with when they arrive, right? So we're in the 1600s, 1820 or 1844 when it is. So the point is, like he said, we're talking about a 250-year process. Then it says that they go back to the first paragraph. It says that they paid for permission to settle amongst. They ain't say we
See?
paid you. There go an empty lot right there is yours. That's another big
Yeah,
lie in your head. No one ever said we selling you this land. They said you can come to the party. You can you can sacrifice
yeah,
or make a entrance, a donation, whatever to the guys and come on into the party. That's all
yeah.
they got.
People look at that land like it's a house. It ain't a house.
Yeah.
Niggas can't stop you from coming on some land. A land mass. You know, you gonna come. You go. You know, we get. It's like you know. So we not looking at it like that. You know.
Is that where the war comes in? Since these niggas like, okay, I just paid you for this land, give me that. And the Native
Oh
Americans like,
no.
nah.
Listen.
No, 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 no.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. It wasn't until 1711 while hanging out.
Right.
Like he said, they've been hanging out. They've been kicking it for 100 years. They having babies. They've been. We like, hey man, they ain't that bad. They've been doing trade. We done had some conflicts, all that.
Okay.
But during they became part of the province of New York in 1667, right? So a
Right.
province is established. This is 50 years after that. In 1711, the city opened an official slave market on the famous Wall Street. Don't even look at that as like cut and dry. There was brothers that was participating in that. Oh yeah, let me get a couple slaves. Let me. This is. It's not a war yet.
Right.
It tells you right here. It is no coincidence. The first Negro slave revolt of New York took place the next year.
Hmm.
Once they realized what's going on, they're like, nah, we're not with this.
For sure.
War continued until the province outlawed slavery in 1799. Now hold on, no, I want you to look at it. I'm about to show you something. Last paragraph. Read it out. Read that last paragraph.
Okay. The racist lawyer Richard Riker used the courts in his family's island to continue kidnapping black people as
So
fugitives.
now we get what would look like a war,
Okay.
what would look like a conflict, right?
Right.
Now we're at a point where a line's being drawn, and they're using essentially colorism to a degree. But we're not dealing with black white. We're dealing
Right.
with the creation of black, right? This is okay. Now keep going. Now when you look at ODB, you're seeing the product of that: the
Right.
incarceration, the separation, the building the big buildings there. You know what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
gangs of New York. We keep going.
Even after the full eradication of slavery in New York, June 4th, 1827. I'm tripping, my bad. July 4th, 1827. It continued until 1844. Following the Emancipation Proclamation, the United States transformed it into a jail with the same racist name, Rikers Island.
Today. So we still got ODB, the Shinnecock, in front of the plantation, Rikers Island, rapping. Let my people out, right? It's you see it today, but like the brother said, we don't even want to see it like that. We want to see it like this magical, mystical, you are in my kingdom, and then some angels fall down with white wings and blonde hair, and then we fly out with the black wings as Moors, and I don't know what we.
And then
That's
and
why
then you got to realize it
what we
was
put
um
this ancient Indian god guy. Let me bring you down to planet Earth, show you what you're looking at. Feel me? For sure.
and also there were wars that were taking place before these people came, and they just like exasperated some of those wars. They took sides on some of those wars. Gave ammunition, gave supplies to, gave things. So you come to a place and you pick a side with a certain group of people. Now you're siding with that group of people. You have enemies, but you make allies. Now there are those that accept you in the land, even though there are those who don't want you in the land.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So it becomes politics now. It becomes a national politics. I may have taken one of your daughters, like we said. You may have taken one of my sons or something like that. Now there's this involved and all these things that go. So it's not as cut and dry as a lot of people make it out to be. And the quote unquote white man didn't start race wars in the Americas.
Okay.
They were in existence before that. Race wars have been in existence, since man. Like people don't want to hear that because race war stems from a level of tribalism, which tribalism has always been around with mankind. Man has always sought to do right by his and get what's best for his people and protect his people and stuff like that. And some to by any means necessary. You know what I mean? So some people have always been a threat to others based off of their differences. And those differences were known by your customs. And guess what? The things you eat dictate how you look, even in the animal kingdom. Things they eat dictate how they look, right? So we knew those who were like us and what probably some of the things that they may have eaten and things to that degree based off of what they ate.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? They didn't create racism and race. Like, this is what people got to understand. They created this evil thing, but when you look at what it is, let's just break it down what it is. Race, like people are saying, that's black, white, and this. That does exist. I can show you a white brother. I can show you a black brother. They exist. We got to stop acting like it don't exist. But to the degree of how they made it, it does not. It doesn't determine nationality, right? It doesn't determine also ethnicity to that degree, the way that they're trying to do it. But it is there, but not to the degree that they're saying. But what I'm saying is we got to be careful how we look back at things. Even if you found a magical book that wrote about the past, guess what? That's one person's magical book about what they wrote about the past. There was a Crip Jesus back there that wrote another book that say something totally contrary to that, or adds on or builds on to that magical book that was written.
Sure.
You get what I'm saying? You got the Bible, you got the blue Bible.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like you're gonna always have that something that's given the other perspective, and we gotta make sure that we listen to the other perspective when it comes to history too, because of the position we're in.
All right.
You know.
Like the answer to the we seen you made the comment about the racism and the race. He had some questions about the book. We're gonna sidetrack for a second. Let you.
Yeah, I just gotta sit here and say is like there was no such thing as race. We had like they made this pseudoscience called race. Like they'll say to talk about what your head was shaped like, what your nose was shaped like, the texture of your hair,
Phrenology.
all that. Like yeah, phonology was fake. Like you know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, the Roots actually came up with had an album. A lot of people like it woke a lot of people up to what phrenology even was. They said that you was a freaking criminal if you had a certain lump on your head.
Yeah.
Or
They was bugging.
the size of your eyes make you unintelligent. Like it was all kind of stupid stuff. But like they created this thing. What I love getting them with. All right, so this dude actually has a series of books which talks about how they created the white race. You know what I'm saying? Because there's no such thing as a white person. Like they'll say, matter of fact, Germans were considered like Benjamin Franklin didn't like Germans.
Okay, pause right there. Not to cut your bill, but it's very important what you just said, right? So, because it's a certain thing we talk about. So his first question was about the Dutch Peter Minuit, right?
That's right.
And what you were asking was because of their religious ties, would they be classified as Moors?
Hmm.
So first I said, well, let's deal with the word classified. I don't know any book or any record that would classify them as Moors. Now, as far as on a racial thing where the Moors be like, yeah, we the rulers of Europe, check this out. This is why sometimes I tell people, look the stuff up, right? So check this out. Peter Minuit was born in Wesel, Germany between 1580 and 1585. So he's coming in the name of the Dutch, but
Right.
he's a German.
For sure.
Uh,
You know what I'm
the
saying?
thing
And
is,
we could do that all day. You would be surprised how many people in West Europe that were responsible for changing the narrative came from Germany. A large
start
amounts of it.
actually checking out the names of what people called themselves because the Germans didn't call themselves Germans. They matter of fact, it's called
Mm.
Deutschland. Deutschland. That sounds like Dutch
That
to
like
me,
that's
don't it?
to me, yeah.
I'm saying
Yeah,
though.
Deutschland and
So you sitting there saying that he's not Dutch, he's German, but the Germans call themselves
Dutch.
like man, you call it Deutschland.
and then Arabic, and in Spanish that's Alemán.
Mm-hmm.
So there's different names for them. Yeah.
So
For sure.
it's like I'm gonna get back into what I was saying. Like they would call themselves swarthy, swarthy meaning dark. Matter of fact, one of the famous people, the governor, his last name means basically black nigger.
Mm-hmm.
Like those saying Swartzen, dark nigger, bruh.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? He's so-called Austrian. Like, you know what I'm saying? Not even from Germany. Like, but it's like, it's funny, like, how people, they slice stuff up, they give it different names, and it throws you off track. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So all they got to do is change up the name. I'm going to use a great example. Victoria Falls in the middle of Africa. Anybody in Africa named Victoria?
No.
Exactly, but they call this place Victoria Falls. It's been there since before Europeans even knew what Europe was. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? It is what it is. You have to start to realize like they create these terms. You can't be in a box and using their terms. It's like they try to sit there and put the rules together and then they switch the rules in the middle of the game. So it's like you
Mm.
got to sit there and start telling them like, yo, we're not using your terms. We're not going by your rules. Everything you got to say, we ain't hearing it. Especially like if we taught you and now you're trying to switch it up.
Yeah.
Like,
That's right.
So I want to show, but first before I show you this, I want to ask you something. Somebody Mike is doing something crazy. Uh wait, so I know you younger than everybody here, but are you aware like hip hop, New York? Do you look at New York as like the mecca of hip hop?
No.
Damn. What you look at the mecca of hip hop as?
Atlanta.
Damn, all right. I ain't even gonna argue with you. So so
Yeah,
in your
yeah. What
mind, hip
side you
hop
from?
started
What zone
there.
you from, nigga? That
Yeah.
nigga say zone too, bitch.
Well, but what about old school hip hop? Do you think of like LL Cool J, all them type of
Yeah.
dudes that
Yeah.
did New York? All right. So what I'm saying is, does it give you a different vision to be reading something and looking at something about the Indians, and you think of the damn Rikers Island is where they was taking the captives in these Indian wars, and now it's the
Yeah.
prison. You get what I'm saying? Because I
Hmm.
know I first heard of Rikers Island on rap songs.
Yeah.
I've been in New York plenty of times, but that was way later in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was younger, I used to hear about Rikers Island all the time in the hip hop songs. So check this out. The the place is named after him, meaning that they didn't own it anymore,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
Remember, look at this. Let me go back to the book. So the racist lawyer Richard Riker used the courts in his family's island Rikers Island,
Right.
to continue kidnapping quote unquote black people as fugitives, even after the full eradication of slavery in New York, July 4th, 1827. It continued to 1844. So we talking like 2 centuries ago. So he wasn't around for this new age thing. What they actually did was, following the Emancipation Proclamation, the United States transformed it into a jail with the same racist name, Rikers Island. So they did that. They want you to know they did that type of time they on.
Shoot, talk about Central Park.
Oh, okay, hold on. We're gonna go to that next. So look.
Yeah.
He was born in Newton, Queens County, New York, the son of Congressman Samuel Riker and Anna Lawrence Riker, niece of Jonathan Lawrence. In March 1807, Riker married Jeanette Phoenix, daughter of Daniel Phoenix, who served as New York City treasurer, and they had 6 children. He was a member of the prominent and wealthy Riker family, which owned Rikers Island, now New York City's primary jail complex, until 1884. The island's name has been the subject of some controversy and has drawn comparisons between Rikers kidnappings and the disproportionately African American population of the jail.
Well, ain't shit changed.
It
But
ain't
here's the
just
problem. Here's the problem I have with this, with all this story. Not with what you're reading,
yeah.
but with why I know that there's something they're not telling us in
Mm,
history, because Africa would be the only continent with countries that have never in the history fought back for their people
mm.
No, that's not kind of
or
true. But
or
like, cause
spoke or spoke up for their people. Who ain't speak? They ain't
man,
never
listen, they sent
listen.
people. They sent people to fight.
Who
A lot of
name
times they
them?
didn't know where they were taking people, and that's real though.
Name it. Nah, nah,
But hold on. Before you
nah.
see that,
Nick,
I just want to keep showing the connections. So we got the name, and then the fact that why would they want to preserve this name so bad to these specific families?
Uh, Let's
Hold
talk
on. In
about.
1813, Riker became one of the 6 founding members of the Supreme Council Scottish Rite Northern Jurisdiction, a branch of Freemasonry. So this is a big homie, bruh.
Hmm. What
It's
was
bigger
New
than
York
just
called
we
before? It
don't
was
like
called New
niggas.
York.
It's bigger than that. You feel what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it gets
What
it's deep, Brody. So you got Rikers Island, you got
New Amsterdam.
New York, you got
New
Shinnecock,
Amsterdam.
you got ODB, we got right. You see what I'm saying? And it's,
Hmm.
what's
Yeah.
different today? It's not the dude in your neighborhood slave catching to take you to the
Same
island,
shit.
some Freemason dude.
Same shit. Yeah, and that's another thing though too. It's like we keep sitting there talking about the name switch and everything like that. It's the same shit. Like yo, a felon ain't shit, but another word for a slave, bro. Like now they just sit there. You have to be accused of a crime because you got to remember, 14th Amendment did not like abolish slavery. It just changed it. It said you can't be put on the bondage except for if you are convicted of a crime.
True,
So you can still be a slave. Now everybody can be a slave. All you gotta do is be a criminal
Sure.
or
well,
labeled a criminal.
prior to the 13th Amendment, they were fighting about slavery, meaning that 13th Amendment, in my opinion, made slavery legal. It said, okay, now you can legally be a slave if we deem you a
Right.
criminal, according to
Exactly.
this 13th Amendment. You feel me? You got what's the next question?
Okay. My next question is, um, additionally, does this explain why the Dutch occupation? My bad. Let me say this clear. Does this explain why during the Dutch occupation, Black Native American families experienced a degree of freedom? Was it because these specific Europeans were Moors fleeing religious persecution from Spanish Catholics?
No, you trying too hard to make this like black love narrative. No, it don't even say none of that in the book. I don't know where it got like. I think you
I'm gonna
wrote
ask a
them other
question real quick,
questions.
right?
Oh, no, hold on, bro. Hold on. I think you wrote them questions assuming I was gonna say yeah they was Moors on the other one. So they not
Okay.
Moors fleeing no religious persecution.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? As you see on the page itself, it's exactly what Heavy described. They come near negotiating, well, acting like they're finna negotiate, the kick of the monks. They start getting their group, they start mixing in, and within 250 years, they're warned, they're kidnapping. But uh Like you said, Moors, they had freedom, and no, they didn't have no. They were already free. They came amongst them, and the longer they were
Moors
there,
have
yeah, they
nothing.
don't got nothing to do
Moors
with
have
this.
nothing to do with
Yeah,
any of this.
yeah, you're trying
Now
to force this
None of
in.
this.
I'm gonna
Okay.
ask a crazy
Yeah.
question, right? So like a lot of people that smoke, they use a cigar and like you split one open. Usually, something you call it busting open a Dutch, right? What's
Right.
the whole name of the Dutch? Like the actual brand name, if you read it on the package.
Garcia
No,
Vega. Garcia
Garcia Vega
Vega.
is a whole different company.
Yeah,
It's called Dutch
Oh,
Masters.
that's
oh, the
masters.
Dutch
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
masters. Yeah.
Dutch Masters.
Well, yeah, the
So
first. Yeah.
so they letting you know something because you gotta understand that's not indigenous. Like none of tobacco is not indigenous to Europe. It's indigenous to here. Like you know what I'm saying.
Mm.
And it's like it's like they're called Dutch masters because they made the people do like they did a sharecropping situation where they actually had them growing the tobacco because they didn't know how to grow tobacco. It's not something that they even knew about.
Now, hold on. Let me add this in there, just so I don't lose this thought. Now, if anyone that he's describing, if you go look up any of these Dutch masters he's describing and they're swarthy, does that make you say, oh, he's a Moor? See, it goes back to what Heavy first said. How are they living? Does this dude speak Arabic? Does this dude identify himself? And even if he was, in your sense of what you're saying in a racial manner, you said classified. Did he classify himself as a Moor? Hell no. See what I'm saying?
Right.
So like he said, you're talking about the masters here. Just because you find out
Because
they
there's
was
two
dark or
different
brown
more.
don't mean that they
Yeah.
wasn't the Christian masters whooping your
Right. That's
ass.
the European. That's the European version of the word Moor. Just anybody that was black was a Moor.
Yeah,
You know what
Pretty
I'm
much.
saying?
exactly.
Okay.
That's
But
how they
they
that's
just
how
start
they
calling
wanted to
everybody
say it.
black or
Yeah.
Moor.
Mhm.
Yeah, a black or Moor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? but the real terminology, we know what the real Moors were all about and things like that. So
Facts. Okay, that
you
makes a lot of sense that y'all put it like that now. Okay.
So
know.
a well-known brand of natural wrap cigars known for its smooth flavor and distinctive packaging featuring Rembrandt's painting, Descendants of the Drapers Guild, right? So now, painting, painting, my young brother. Before we go in, what does that make you think of? Let's put it together. The Dutch, the dudes we just talked about. The freedom time you're talking about did exist, but it didn't have nothing to do with them letting niggas be free. It had to do with we was free already.
Okay.
They slowly but surely put their Mac down. But these masters having a connection to the painting, what do you see there? Because they said Dutch master is also a term for the master painters.
You saying that these
So you had this Moor vision. So you fucked up right now because you saw them dressed up like Moors with turbans, riding on horses, and saving everybody and freeing Indians. That ain't what the fuck going on at all. These are some dirty niggas, okay? And they clean in their presentation, but they getting money and they pimping and all that. You get on the boat and we getting this money, all right? And we painting pictures of our light skinned baby mamas as the angels and all that. Yeah, we dealing with the Renaissance era. We dealing with the 1600s and 1700s. We dealing with the art, the Enlightenment
okay.
era. Okay, some of these
Yeah.
masters are also philosophers and Renaissance men, and these are not just peasants. You know what I'm saying? These are the masters.
Right.
How long? How long was it? Think about it like this: how long was a trip from Europe to, say, the Caribbean islands?
Hmm.
Hmm.
How long is that trip?
On the boat, well, they had a
Probably like a few
current.
days.
It had to depend on the time of the year too, because
Is
they
that
had a
true?
current.
Yeah.
Right.
They used to ride like
Let
a river on the street. Yep.
right.
See, you see how they depicted
But
them?
how?
See how they depict them?
Yes, sir.
Right. That's
Blonde hair,
yeah.
blue eye. That's how
None
they
like
want
that.
you to think
But
that this is
but
all they
also
look like.
now if I just add some nice little curls on the side of their
Yeah,
head,
them
what
Jews, them
what
Jews, man.
come on.
And see, that goes back to the freedom time you talk about too. If you look at it, bro, New York switched and switched and switched. Riker and them ain't Dutch.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? You got like gangs in New York, and all that. So it's like he said, like them first people that came, it, it's tricky. Like they're gonna say, yeah, masters and slave masters, but their system of it was completely different than what that next wave was. You feel me?
Right.
The
And
crazy part is that like the English got it over fucking nutmeg. Like they got like listen, did you see that shit I sent to you? Over fucking nutmeg. They was like, okay, we'll trade you this island over here for this island. Because they was beefing with each other. The English and the what do you call it? English and the Dutch were beefing with each other. And they came to a resolution that, they could have New Amsterdam down New York for another island where they was getting nutmeg from. And I just watched this shit. This is crazy. Like, yo, as much spices as they don't use. But they was doing this shit over spices on some real shit.
Them Dutch gave New Amsterdam to the ink for the Brit to the British for goddamn nutmeg.
For an island that actually grew nutmeg. But by the time it was like only a specific certain island they thought was only where they could get it from, but they got smart with it and they found another place to plant that nutmeg so they could have it other places. So they thought they was like, oh good, we got we got the place where this stuff grow at. So you know what I'm saying? Now we're gonna have to corner this market right here because you gotta remember this is all money situation. And it's like, yo, but they didn't have no idea that they already figured out they planted it somewhere else where it could grow at because you got like nutmeg was kind of hard to grow. It don't grow everywhere. So I mean there was like one specific island that was growing at one point in time. So it's like this shit had to all do about like spices. Like, bro, this shit's crazy. The fact that like they were doing deals with each other because they was beefing with each
Right.
other, and they was trying to find out like, do you think that they all get along? They don't. They had to create this so-called white race thing in order for them to sit there and go like, you know what? They found something to unify about. It's like like a lot of people. The Moors talk about something. Don't be calling yourself black. Don't call yourself black. Black was the unifier, so we could stop beefing over the tribalism and all the other dumb shit. Just
so
like how
look,
they
I
kind
need for y'all
of
to
came up with white.
I need for y'all to
Out
understand
there
how
trying tribalism. Go ahead.
crazy that is. They're fighting over something that to us was just something that we use to season our damn food. You're fighting you fighting over nutmeg.
Mhm.
Over nutmeg. Sure, but
You warring over tobacco.
exactly. Oh, that's another
You
thing though.
warring
They
over
tradition.
cotton. We was just trading it. We was just trading it.
They had
You know what I'm
they
saying?
had the tradition
We weren't
to
warring
like
over
actually
it.
have Indians. If you ask old people, you go see the old cigar boxes. They had native people depicted on those
Yeah.
boxes because they knew that's where like you know what I'm saying they're the ones who knew how to cultivate it. So it was like it's like they have like this tradition of after they defeat somebody they parade it around like matter of fact a lot of people don't even know this a Pontiac the car Pontiac is named after a chief Pontiac who was whooping their
Yeah.
ass. And when they finally defeated them, they're like, yeah, listen, you know what I'm saying? So now they named this car brand Pontiac. So it's basically a mockery of them throwing it in your face that we beat your ass. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and a lot of people don't even know this, that freaking the Skull and Bones actually had Geronimo's Skull and Bones. The bushes in them. Like, they actually, the family
Mm-hmm.
had to sue them to get it back from them so they could
Get that
properly
shit back.
bury it.
Who's
Yeah.
So, like, you
Geronimo?
can see
all right, so
you
look,
see them taking pictures with the skull and bones of Geronimo.
Who's Geronimo? My bad. One last thing. Who's Geronimo?
Geronimo was a warrior who was whooping their asses here in America.
leader of
Like they would sit there
Apache.
fighting back and forth when they was like, "Yo, we sick and
Nah,
tired of y'all
let
like
me
not
let me
guarding
tell you
our
about our people.
duties."
Geronimo was cool, but he wasn't Tucalalusa.
Yeah,
Where you
for
get the
real.
city like Tuscaloosa named
Hey,
after Black Warrior.
Oh, that
hey, yo, my
he
Standing
boy,
he threw me
almost
off in the
yo,
book,
my
man.
boy,
He put that in the
they
book,
cut
bro. I
off
read
his
that shit. I
arms,
was like,
right? They cut off his hands.
mhm.
He said, "Fuck that, yo." He wrapped up his hands and made this shit fucking knives and started like went into a fucking battle with no hands, fucking stabbing people with the bones after they cut his hands off. Tell me that ain't some shit. I
So
forget what his name is.
Geronimo is a original leader from over here, and then you got also in the Black Panthers
Uh-huh.
they had a real famous member
Geronimo Pratt.
that
He
named
named
himself after
himself
him, yeah, Geronimo Pratt.
just like Tupac was named after
But
Tupac Amaru.
but look, let's get back to the Dutch though. We all over the place. Look,
Yeah.
the Dutch. So to go back to what he said, all you gotta do is put a lock on the side, whatever. You see the tall hats and all that, right? But these
Because
people
what is a
weren't.
Dutch?
Hmm?
What what is it? What is it? Is it just a person from Deutschland? That's just what it means.
Well, let's get into
Just
that.
technically,
Okay.
is it just a person that's from? Is it that? That's I'm thinking. That's what it is, right? Just a person from there.
No, I'm going to Dutch independence. So they do have a lot of Moorish blood in them because they were under control of Spain. But once again, let's go back to what we were saying. That's more on a racial level. That gets a confusing conversation. Who's mixed with who? They
You
were
need to look
never.
up Jewish history in
But
Deutschland.
think about it. The Moriscos and all them were Jews. They weren't
Right,
Muslim. The majority of them
right.
were Jewish. There was more. There was more Moors that was Jewish than Muslim. If you think about it, as far as in Spain and Portugal, not
Mhm.
in Africa, but
Facts.
well, well, it's called the 80 Years' War, right?
Okay.
Now,
Mhm.
Okay.
here's what I want to show you. I want to get a map. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. So, even though it's up towards the Netherlands, you got to remember France is to the east. I mean, my bad, to the west. So, Spain and all that is under it. So, there was a time where they ruled up. So, you do have like different blood, like the brother was saying, swarthy. But, however, let's go to what Heavy's talking about. The Dutch were heavily involved in the transatlantic slave trade, shipping around 600,000 enslaved Africans to the New World. Though they didn't become a major player until the mid 1600s, they seized Portuguese fortresses and plantations in Africa and Brazil, and slavery continued in their colonies until 1863, with a 10-year transition period in places like Suriname. Right. So what you see is their get down, like Will was saying. These are some of the first masters, and this is why them being known for the natural wrap. Think about that, right? So a lot of the cigars now don't have the natural leaf wrap, and it's tobacco. If you don't know anything, the picture in the movie is cotton, but before that was tobacco for sure. And before that, when it first kicked off, it was sugar.
Mm.
That was the major trade. And what all those things got in common, we so used to synthetic drugs now. Those are drugs. The word drugs has been made bad now, but those are herbs that you can use to enhance your reality. Like that's
Well,
yeah, they was big trade, bro. Like people, yeah,
matter
that was
of fact,
like they was having trap wars basically. You know what I'm
and
saying?
Malcolm X, they showed you like a little bit of tidbit, a small piece of it. When Dude was sitting there talking to him, he was like, "Listen, he mix the nutmeg in the water, and it gives you a freaking quick. It really works. Like, you take some nutmeg and put it in some water, and you drink it real quick. It's gonna give you like a quick rush, real quick for a little bit, and then you're gonna have to
Mhm.
yeah. This like, but only lasts for only so long though. But it's like they've been synthesizing everything. Like the drugs that we know as drugs right now is a whole bunch of like they actually they concentrate it at a higher level than it's supposed to, because like people eat coca leaves in the mountains in order to um help you with the altitude sickness, because that's where it grows at. So they eat it
Blood
like
thinner.
that. But now like what I'm saying, cocaine ain't nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? It's all like they actually make it all kind of like more powerful than it's supposed to be. It'll fuck you up real bad, like you know what I'm saying? And that's what like
Like
they
fentanyl.
turn the natural medicine into something corrupted, and it's like all things in moderation. If you're not moderating these things, then it's going to be a bad thing. Even
No,
found that chocolate used to be something that they used.
hold
The
on.
cocoa,
He said like fentanyl. No, y'all new niggas, y'all drugs ain't even based on nothing. Y'all the shit that went so
chemicals.
far, y'all drugs is based off of other drugs, like
Yeah.
chemical makeup, a new chemical.
Mm-hmm.
So cocaine still come actually in the wild, there's
It's a
coca
leaf.
plant.
It's a
Yeah,
leaf.
there's a leaf there. Now the problem is when you take the coca plant, experiment and get that part out of it that gives the activity. Now you got that isolated. That's called grafting. Now I can go back. That's the same thing done with sugar, bro.
Yep.
There's nowhere you can go in wild and say there's sugar growing out the ground. But that ain't how it works. There's no the sugar.
Sugar cane.
I mean sugar cane, but that's even sugar cane. You got to still process it. I'm saying like
And now. most
Yeah.
of our sugar comes from high fructose
No, yeah, they
corn
don't
sugar.
even do. That's what I'm
Corn,
trying to explain to him. His era don't even get
corn.
this. What I'm trying to explain to him is his era don't even got nothing based off nature. It used to be,
Aspartame
it,
and
yeah.
shit.
It
Goddamn,
used to
all
be
that shit.
that ethereal. It
Sweet and
used to
low.
be that too much of anything is poison. So you used to take things from nature, they get too much of it, or they'll extract certain elements out of it. You know what I'm saying? But now, what y'all call drugs is made up of like virtual reality. Like they taking the taking what they've already processed and give it the reprocess. You know what I mean? So y'all sugar ain't even made from sugar in the real nature. Y'all sugar made from like corn syrup or
Yeah,
something. Uh,
and
Mhm.
yeah, I know what
y'all
you mean,
But it's
Sam.
drugs ain't made from nothing. There's nowhere you can go. There's not a fentanyl plant.
Mhm.
There's not a crystal plant. There's no that shit don't come from nothing. It's all chemical. It's like made by a laboratory.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
synthetic.
Yeah,
Mhm.
synthetic.
For sure. Okay. Well, I guess my next question would be 47 years after the English took control of New Amsterdam from the Dutch and established the province of New York, which lasted from 1664 to 711, black families of American Indian heritage from tribes like the Shinnecock and Lenape become part of this New York province. During this period, the city governed by the British also set up a slave market, resulting in the enslavement of the indigenous people. So I know that was
What,
long, but I'm basically
what's your
saying,
question? What the hell is your
okay,
question?
okay, I'm basically saying, so once the British take control of the city from New Amsterdam, is that when we really start to see the slave trading ramp up and the uh,
No, because you gotta do your due diligence. You can't. It's not simple like that. British come, Whoopie come. Nobody got exterminated, so they were still there.
okay,
That's why they still there today.
yeah, and
No prisoners
slavery in
of
the
war.
South. Slavery in the South was a lot different than slavery in the
Hmm.
North. You know, it was yeah, it was different. I mean, the treatment of the people was the same,
Mhm.
but there were differences, and I think people gotta understand that. This is why the South was very prime for certain slavery because of the type of things that it could yield from the land, even in itself. You know what I'm saying? So it produced, but also the South was very affluent during this time. You know, the South was known to be very affluent at this time. There was a a southern swag that went around that you were very elegant. People would go down south to go to universities and things like this too. Also to be schooled and things like this. So but that's a whole nother story.
Right.
But going back to what you were saying, many of the natives of those tribes, um, they they became confederate with other tribes to try to work out things on on the back end.
Mhm.
You know, to try to go about it the way that these new these new people on the land have and these people that have taken our lands, these rules and regulations that they have, we have to try to learn to play by their rules. So a lot of this time was spent, even a lot of the natives, people don't think about this, but a lot of these people were trying to play by the rules and take up on ways to get legislation and things and finding out that it
Yeah.
wasn't going to work, you know? So in these early years, this was them trying to figure that stuff, finding out that it wasn't going to work. That we come with some legislation, we say, hey, we complain, we go about it through your courts. You go look at through the history of these courts, you'll constantly see these native groups and peoples with complaints
Mhm.
and filing these motions for things that were constantly being denied. So it wasn't just all the stuff you were
Just
referring
say
to,
you're
but
going
yeah.
off the rails, but like on some real stuff like that. But that actually like brings up a good point, that the fact that the governance, the way that they did governance was actually the way that came from
Oh,
us.
Mhm.
that's not what he
Is
asked.
that what he asked? He's like, when did it actually, like, when did they start popping off, like with the slavery thing? Like, when did it start? But you got to remember, it's always been a thing of war. Prisoners of war have always been a thing.
Yeah.
They held each other prisoner. Let's call
Okay.
that what it is. Before they called it, they started calling each other white and making it like, you know what I'm saying, themselves white, and saying who is who as far as like oh, you get to be white, you not white. Like before, it was a power thing, and the whole they had to come together.
Right.
They had to come together to figure out who was going to be on this side or that side. You got to remember, they were trading each other. They were trading their own children.
For sure.